And welcome to the final chapter that we will be reviewing from Management 3350 during this summer semester. And I'm sure you're not sad to hear that, but anyway, we're going to be talking. We've talked about everything from the very beginning of the idea of a business, creating the business. We've talked about location. We've talked about financial statements, of course, the business plan, talked about product, talked about pricing. And now we're going to talk about how do we promote this business to the public? How do we let customers know about what we're doing and the products and services that we offer? So I think it's only appropriate that the final chapter that we go over this summer is all about promotional planning. And there are the learning objectives for this chapter. So what is promotion? What is it? What all is included? So it's anything that helps inform or persuade a customer to come into your place of business, take a look at your website, not necessarily purchase, although that's the ultimate goal, but just to help let them know about what you're doing. And so when we take a look at, I'm not going to go over the communication model. That's something you actually go over in communications, but we're going to focus more on everything that has to do with promotion. One thing that I want you to know that the promotional mix includes everything that a business does to promote their business to their specific target market. So it could be your advertising, whether it be on the radio, newspaper, television. It could be your social media. It could be your website. It could be as simple as printing up a bunch of flyers on 8.5 by 11 paper and putting them under the windshield wipers of cars parked at the mall. Anything that you do to promote your business is part of your promotional mix. And a small business owner has to be able to determine what is the right combination in the promotional mix in order to drive customers to the business and also do it in an economical way so that you can still make a profit. So most small businesses are going to look at ways to do this in a very, very economical sense. In other words, we don't have millions of dollars to spend on promotions. We don't have a multi-million-dollar promotional budget to spend on a sales force. We have a very limited amount of money, and any type of promotion or most types of promotion do have some type of cost related to it. Obviously, the characteristics of the product are going to help dictate a little bit about how we promote that product. So if we're selling multi-million-dollar pieces of equipment or multi-million-dollar services, obviously we can't rely on some type of newspaper advertising or some type of minimal promotion to sell those products. We're probably going to have in that instance, we're probably going to have the most expensive form of promotion, which is personal sales force. But disposable razors, on the other hand, don't need and wouldn't warrant a personal sales force. These are more types of non-personal advertising where you might be able to get it done through a coupon in the paper, advertising in the on the radio or television, or some other form of non-personal advertising. And again, that's the characteristic of the product dictates how that is promoted. the main thing that has happened over the past, 20 years is companies have finally realized, it took them a long time, but they finally realized to listen to their customers. And we talked about omni-channel services a couple chapters ago. Because of the technology-driven society, and there's always some type of customer point that we're talking to the customer. We obviously are going to have to listen to the customer, and we're going to hear, and we're going to get feedback from that customer. So, how much do we budget for all the promotional strategies that we're going to put in place during a year? Most small business owners do not budget. I'll tell you that up front. They know they have to do it, and they do it when they have to. They'll promote when they have to. But let's take a look at the 4 approaches, and I'll tell you how most small businesses do budget. Budgeting a fixed percentage of sales is one way to do it. In other words, if you're going to expect to have $1 million worth of sales during the year, you might say that 5% of that budget, 5% of those sales is going to be promotional in relation to the sales. So in other words, if you have $1 million and you take 5%, you're going to budget $50,000. Now that's pretty small budget for $1 million sales estimate, but point is it's a percentage of sales. Spending what is left over after other expenses are covered are one way. That is a way that some businesses will promote. In other words, if they have the money, they'll buy an ad, or they'll buy a commercial, or they'll do something. So if they have some money left over. Spending at the same level as competitors, unfortunately, a lot of businesses do this. So when a competitor of theirs might place an ad, the very next week they'll place an ad to try to match it. So number one is a good way to do it, but most businesses don't. Number two is not a good way, but a lot of businesses do that. And number three is not a good way, but a lot of businesses do that. 4 is probably the fourth way to budget is probably the ultimate way, and the way that most businesses should do it. And that's determining how much is needed to achieve their objectives. So if we've got $1 million worth of sales, don't think of a percentage of it, but think of what's it going to take to get to that level. Is it going to take $100,000? Is it going to take $75,000? What's it going to take to get $1 million worth of sales? It's not easy to do because most small business owners are not experienced into figuring out how much of their promotional budget yields in sales dollars or revenue. So most small businesses end up doing number 2 and 3, whereas number 4 is probably the best way to determine a budget. And it comes with experience as time goes on, and if small business owners and entrepreneurs are smart, they'll look back at their past year's spending and say, this was effective, this wasn't, and go from there. So here are just some explanations of the 4 ways that businesses budget for their promotions. Social media and the internet. This is obviously becoming very, very key factor in a company's promotional strategy and their promotional mix. In fact, last year, social media overtook television, radio, and newspaper advertising as the number 1 way that businesses promote. One of the reasons why is simply that's where people are at. People are looking at social media. They're not looking at the television. They're not looking at the newspaper, and they're not listening to the radio. So a lot of businesses are now, and that percentage is even higher on that number 1 point. I'm sure after the end of 2019, this 54.4% number is much larger. This just talks about setting up a website. And so I'm going to let you look at this at your leisure. Most of you have probably maybe even worked with websites. But every business, every small business has to have a website. And they have to have social media presence, if anything. Those are the two things that they must have. And even though you may not sell anything on your website, you still need a website to tell people about your business. Let them know your hours, let them know your location, let them know the types of products you sell. A website is just absolutely necessary, as is social media. If a business isn't on social media today, they're just plain out stupid. They don't know what they're doing. And so here's some guidelines for website design. We're not going to get into that in this class, but obviously you probably know a lot about setting up websites. Hopefully you've taken a few classes. And if you haven't, design graphics are good classes to take. Your website, the name of your website should be on everything. Your advertising, your premium items such as your pencils and pens and Post-it notes that you give out to customers, your radio advertising, your newspaper advertising. You have to promote that website. Your social media, you have to promote that, and you have to promote the website within your social media. And there's blogs. We know there's one thing that's not mentioned here is podcast, which is a big trend in our social media marketing class and in our digital marketing class. We talk about podcast. We talk about blogs. We talk about everything that's digital. So here's some social media marketing guidelines. And again, this is not the social media marketing class, but these are just helpful hints for small business owners as they try to promote their products. Now, we talk a little bit about personal selling at the very beginning of these slides, and that's when we're selling, or we have very complex, expensive products and services. And that's when we would have a personal sales force, where we have that face-to-face meeting with a customer, either from the owner or actually hire salespeople to do it. Having that product knowledge that can only be really conveyed through a salesperson. It's not something that you can put on a website, because customers may have unique questions about the product. Can it do this? What happens if this happens? And so critical that if we have a product that is very difficult to explain and the sales process is a very complicated one, that we have some type of sales or face-to-face sales force. You have your sales presentation. Prospecting is where you're going out and you're looking for new customers, constantly looking for people who might be just possibly interested in your product or service. You get these through personal referrals, cold calling, impersonal referrals, maybe through just by looking at the phone book or finding some type of data that's out there where you can actually pull customer information from. Here's just some successful sales techniques. Again, in this semester, in the fall semester, this coming semester, I'm teaching Marketing 3400, which is personal sales. And I will tell you that personal sales is a very lucrative career. You can make a very comfortable living in personal sales if you can find the right company and something that really interests you. One thing about personal selling is it's very costly. You have salaries, you have benefits to pay, and of course, if you really want to entice your sales force to be productive, you have to offer commissions and bonuses. And so controlling those costs for a small business sometimes is not easy. And there's all types of compensation, both financial and non-financial. Most common advertising that you're going to see that we're familiar with, of course, is television and radio, magazines, newspapers, direct mail, billboards, and the internet. But this advertising is sort of trending downward. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to see more advertising or more promotion on social media than you are on some of these venues or these channels. I think we went over advertising. The difference between product advertising and institutional advertising is simply product advertising is talking about a product or service, trying to create a desire for a customer to purchase it. Institutional advertising is just telling customers about the company and describing what the company is all about. So some of your larger corporations, especially like pharmaceutical companies, you'll go to their website. They're not selling. They don't sell the pharmaceuticals on their website. They just tell you about their company, how they do their research and development. So I would encourage you to go to a site like Johnson & Johnson or Bristol Myers Squibb or Pfizer, Mylan Pharmaceuticals. Go to those sites and take a look at their website. It's all institutional advertising. And again, most small business advertising is of the product type, obviously. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about getting your advertising. You can do it yourself, designing your ad. If you buy a newspaper ad, a local newspaper ad, they'll ask you to help design the ad. Or if you tell them you want them to design it, they will do it. They have graphic designers who will design your ad, and then they'll bring it back and show you, and you'll approve it. But there's suppliers can help with advertising. They can also help with the payment or the cost of the advertising. And there's advertising agencies. How frequently should you advertise is always an important question. We know that in social media, because the price of that is minimal, a lot of companies will try to do as much as they can in social media, whereas a national television commercial can run hundreds of millions of dollars, and we cannot do that often. Where to advertise? So you're looking at your target market. Where does your target market? Where are you going to reach your target market? If you think about my business and my medical equipment company, where did I advertise? Well, I advertised a lot in the newspaper simply because that age group, 65 and older, which was one of my primary target markets, they still read the newspaper. But I had a target market of medical students at West Virginia University Med School that I knew didn't look at the newspaper. I did a lot of advertising for that type of product through social media because that's where you can grab them. Finally, sales promotion is just anything that we can use to promote our product other than personal selling and advertising. So this is where you have your pens and your pencils with your name of your company. Those are called specialty items. Trade show exhibits. We might go to a trade show where consumers will come or buyers will come and take a look at different products from different companies. Coupons, publicity. So let's take a look at these. I already mentioned the specialty items. Trade show exhibits. A lot of college graduates will get marketing jobs as trade show specialists, where they travel all around the country doing these trade shows. It's not a bad gig for someone right out of college without a family and likes to travel. But these trade show exhibits are critical for some companies, depending on the products that they sell. Coupons, we all know what coupons are. And then publicity, which is basically a little or no cost to a company, but it's where you might see some type of newspaper article about a business that's opening soon, or a business that's donated to a local charity or done some charity work. Usually it promotes the business and not a specific product. But publicity can be good or bad. if someone walks into your store and breaks a leg and sues your company, and that's in the newspaper, that's bad publicity. But if someone comes into your store and really likes one of your salespersons because they were very friendly to them and really helped them out when they were purchasing something, and they wanted that to get out, they might call the newspaper company and say, listen, I want to talk about some really good customer service. And that might get us an article in the paper. And you didn't have to pay for it, but it'd be really good publicity. And that's pretty much chapter 17. So by now, hopefully you've looked at all of chapter 14, 15, 16, and 17 and are just about ready to take the final quiz. So the final quiz is 50 questions, true or false, multiple choice, and each question is worth actually 2.5 points, which makes that test worth 125 points total. So I hope that you have watched the slides or video reviews, reviewed your slides, and read the chapters. I also hope that throughout the semester you've been able to gain a little bit of knowledge about what it takes to open a small business. And you may find yourself one day wanting to do that. And I want you to know that I'm always available if you need some help or you have some questions. I'd be more than happy to help you. Just give me a call here at Fairmont State, and I've done it for many students who've actually started their own businesses, and I've had several. So best of luck to you. I hope to see you on campus here in a few weeks, starting on August 10th. And if you need anything from me, please don't hesitate to ask. Take care, be safe, and congratulations. You're just about done with this course. Take care.